Hey, welcome to my world. How's your world going? Staying warm? Are you prepared for more cold weather? It's been a bear, hasn't it? It's really been nasty out there. I don't know about you, but we had about 12 inches of snow here and drifting and everything else. And elsewhere in Ohio, it's that way. And I'll tell you what, it's been a heck of a few days here. So you can sit back, relax, and listen to our discussion tonight because I have a couple of guests, and one of them is in a city called Wilmington, Ohio, and they're experiencing the same type of problems that we may be having here in Piqua, Ohio, and Sydney, Ohio, with data centers. So we're going to talk a little bit about data centers again. This will be our part two of our discussion. And so we'll get them online here in just a little bit. First of all, we always have to do a disclaimer. So nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, financial, or investment advice. Take what we say with a big grain of salt and always do your own research and due diligence. We're not responsible for and expressly disclaim all liability for damages of any kind arising out of use, reference to, or reliance on any information contained in this broadcast. Any persons or characters mentioned are, for the most part, fictional or as close to it as we can get. So sit back, relax, and chill out. Did you bring your snacks? How about your favorite beverage? Are you sitting back and you're being comfortable? That's the main part. This Wednesday show is one of those things where we can talk just about anything. We can do comedy, and we've done that before. We've shown videos of comedy shows and stuff. We have a lot of things that we can do on this show. Unlike Money and Change, which is on Sunday nights at 7 p.m., and we talk about finance, how to save some money. But that's coming up Sunday. And now it's my world. And we're going to talk about data centers. But before we do, we always have to do shout outs. And if I don't do shout outs specifically to the Trim Radio Network, oh boy, I'm in trouble. And I don't want to be in trouble. So we're going to get there and we're going to talk about the Trim Radio Network and all the people that are involved here. And here they are. This is the brain trust of the Trim Radio Network, better known as trimradio.com. We have Michael Bejas, who's the founder and CEO, and he's responsible for the overall vision, mission, and leadership and performance of the entire company. And I'll tell you what, he's a good guy. I've known Michael for a long time, as well as this next guy by the name of Rascala Stefan. He was on the last week's show. He's the chief operating officer. He's responsible for day-to-day operational management of the network, ensuring efficiency and quality, and he's a computer guru. He is something else. He knows his computers very well. And he also has his own show. Actually, we all have our own shows. Then there's me. I'm the chief relationship officer. I don't know what I'm supposed to do there. I guess make people happy, I guess. And hopefully you trust us because we cut the bull and serve the truth. And that's the motto of what we do. So, the last person on the list, but boy, she's important, is Victoria Smith. She's the chief marketing officer responsible for all marketing activities, brand development, audience growth, and creator acquisition strategies. Boy, that's a mouthful. Whoa. Victoria is a great marketing person. If your company or your club or sorority or fraternity needs marketing advice, check with Victoria Smith. She is fantastic. And she's had some bad weather down in Tennessee. That's where she's at. And I'll tell you what, it's been a wild couple of days here. If you want to get in touch with us, all you have to do is go over here to that red button. And if you click on that button, you put in your name, your phone number, and you say, I want to know more about, maybe it's Money and Change. Maybe it's Rascala's show. You don't know. You want to find out more. All you have to do is Put that information there with your email address, maybe your cell phone number. And hey, if you want to do your own show right here on the Trim Radio Network, let us know. Like I said, put your name down, your phone number. I want to know more about doing my own show. What equipment do I need? What are the rules of the shows? And this is my idea. How can you help me make it happen? And then all you have to do is go down here and click on send message, and somebody will be in touch with you. Okay? It's very easy to do. So that's the Brain Trust, the Fab Four, as I call them. And they're all good people. Okay? So you want to check out the Trim Radio Network. Also, the shows that we have. Oh, yes, we have the Money and Change show every Sunday at 7 p.m. And we talk about how to save money, things about what's going on in the world of finance, and all kinds of things. But it's all related basically to money. And if you're interested in precious metals, I may talk about that off and on. And by the way, the price of gold is way up there, and so's silver. I just got an update a few minutes before the show. But anyhow, that's where we talk at everybody on Money and Change. There's a lot of information to be had there, okay? Especially financial trends. Also, we have Life Walk with Christ God, and that's with Michael Bejas. He's on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And then we have My World, of course, is Wednesdays at 8 p.m. And we're always live. And we can talk about anything we want to within reason. And tonight we're talking about data centers. Next week, we might be talking about different comedy shows or different comedians or fun stuff. You never know, okay? I have guests on at different times, and we always advertise on our Facebook page. So you have to check out our Facebook page, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Then we have Victoria Smith's Natural Marketer podcast, and that's on Thursdays. Now, all of these can be viewed the next day in the vault. And all you have to do is just go to our vault page, and you can go ahead and watch the show there. Or you can go to YouTube or Rumble. And you can also listen to us, I believe, on iHeart and Spotify and a few other places. Okay, so we're out there. And by the way, we go all over the world. We're on the internet, and we can go everywhere. And as long as they can understand our English, we're in good shape. Okay. We have all sides with Michael Bejas and company, and it's college football top 25. And then we have the Positude podcast. That's every Friday at 8 p.m. And then we have Adventure Awaits Around the Bend on Saturday at 1 p.m. Ranch It Up with Tigger and Beck. That's the radio show. It's at 1:30 on Saturdays. Now, Saturday nights, Riscala Stefan puts on the Red Pill Reality Show, and you have to check that one out. It's at Saturday at 9 p.m., and it goes until midnight. So you have to check that show out. He brings on different guests. He talks about a whole bunch of different things. I've been on the show before, and I've called into the show. I watch the show. I see a lot of the guests. It's a great show. Trust me. And then we have these 3 blanks. Well, we have one of them filled, which is Revelation with Peter Kling. And I've known Peter for a long time, and he has a very good show. You want to check him out, Revelation. And then we have Let's Talk About It, and that's with Dora, and that's coming up in about 2 weeks. And we'll be putting out more advertisements on that. But anytime you want to do your own show, hey, let us know, and we'll find a time slot for you. You can go live, you could record, whatever, and we'll put you right here on the list. It's very easy to do, okay? You have a show in mind, pitch it now. There's the number, 1-803-303-8667. That's 1-803-303-8667. Now, how can you support us? It's easy. Michael always says, buy the merch, buy the merchandise. Well, if you buy the merchandise or you advertise or you donate to Trim Radio Network, what happens is this: the money that we get goes into airtime. None of us are paid. We don't want to be paid. We're having fun at this and we want to help people out. Okay. So all you have to do is, if you want to buy the merchandise, that's fine. If you want to advertise with it, that's fine. We have very reasonable rates for that. But you can buy mugs, hopefully with something on them. Oh, there is something. They just turned it wrong. Then we have t-shirts. We have insulated travel mugs. Hey, those are good mugs too, by the way. We have ceramic mugs. We have shirts. And these are the offsides college football top 25 premium piqué polo shirts. And then we have t-shirts. And we also have other pages. And hopefully we'll be adding to those in maybe a few more weeks. We've got kids t-shirts. We've got mugs, the glossy mugs. We had morphing mugs before. You add something cold in there and it turns a color. You add something hot and it changes again. Those are neat mugs. Trim Creators dad hats. We have ceramic, those things you hang on trees, okay, or windows, whatever. Ceramic ornaments. And then we also have the embroidered beanies. Hey, it's cold weather. Do you have a hat? Do you have a beanie? Hey, get one of ours. We've also got the cases for AirPods. If you have AirPods and you're always losing them, you can't keep track of where they're at, hey, buy one of our AirPod cases and put your AirPods in there and it protects them, okay? And just check this out. If you want to support us, that's fine. You can donate, you can advertise, or you can buy the merch. What else is going on? Oh, yeah. Hey, one thing here. Somebody asked me, how do we watch you live? Well, if you go to our live stream and chat page and you click, I'm not going to do it because that'll probably mess up my system here, but you click on that and you can watch us live. Now, if you miss the shows, you can always go to a thing called YouTube or Rumble, and you can watch the shows. Rumble's always the next day. YouTube is usually about 30 minutes after the show has aired. Now, what I will do is I will go to our Facebook page and put this show on the Facebook page, and it'll be linked there, so you can get us different ways, okay? Speaking of Facebook pages, oh, what did I do? I hit the, something, I get the fastest fingers on this mouse, and sometimes I think I've clicked it once, and all of a sudden I've sent myself to the moon or something, Mars, whatever, Wilmington, Ohio, or Toledo, or Cincinnati, whatever. But this is our Facebook page, and we've got members here. It's a private group now. We'll go public with it later. But I always put what the show is. And, I posted this on the page, and I said, we've got guests tonight. Listen to our live show as we will be talking about AI and data centers. And we'll look into what could happen when data centers become a reality. And join me at 8 p.m. And there it is. And if I have information for you and you click on the comment section, and I have stuff here. We've got exposing the dark side of America's AI data centers. That's a video. We found the hidden cost of data centers. We've got the sound of data centers. I'll tell you what, if I have stuff here, I'll post it up there and you can go back to the page and you can watch this, okay? As well as the show. So that's with our page. Now, on Money and Change, I do the same thing there. You go to the page and you go to the top thing that's posted, which will be what I call the leader. and you click on the comments, and everything about the show that we presented is there, all the videos and everything. So I like to keep people informed. Okay. So we're going to be talking about data centers tonight. And if you want to get into the group, you know that red button I was showing you? You can click on that and say, hey, tell Stu I want to join the My World page. And I'll get you in there. And that's an easy thing to do. Okay. Wow. What else is going on? Oh, yeah. I have to talk about one thing. You know, we had the real bad weather. And with that, what happens when the phones go down? What happens when the TV isn't working and you have to communicate? Well, my cell phone's dead. What do I do? Right here. These are GRMS radios. I've talked about them for years. $35 gets you a license from the FCC that's good for 10 years. That's $3.50 a year. Anybody in your family can use the radio using your call sign. Okay, it's a good deal. Trust me, these are great radios. This is an Ocean 935 G Plus, and it has a Nagoya 771G antenna for GMRS radios. They're really good. And I'll tell you what, in a communication situation, you can always go and click on those things, and you can contact people within your group. Matter of fact, I have been able to at night get on the radio, and I talk to people as far as Wilmington, Cincinnati, Connersville, Indiana, up to Lima. I mean, just go on a repeater. This radio itself, I can go 35 miles with that antenna, and I can talk to a repeater in Dayton, Ohio, and I'm good for another 90 miles beyond that. And it's great to have those things in an emergency. GMRS radios, check them out. Just don't get the bubble packs at Wally World. You know what I mean? Up here we call them Wally World, but it's really Walmart or Costco. I get these from Better Safe Radio and BuyTwoWayRadios.com. I'm not plugging them. I don't get paid to plug them. Okay. So we have that. Wow, what else is going on? Oh, yeah, we've got Rusty Duck's custom pens and blanks. If you need a custom pen made, check it out. Rusty Duck's custom pens and blanks. And I'm going to show you his page real quick. Assuming I can click on the buttons, you know, and we'll just do that. Rusty Duck's custom pens and blanks. There, I did a double hit. What in the heck is going on here? Some crazy stuff is going on. You can get these pens. They're great. These are the service pens that he does. And he does all kinds of custom pens. You come up with a design, he'll make it for you. And I'll tell you what, Michael Bayhouse and I both have those. And they're great pens. They're on a cross pen platform. And they're all custom made. And he does an excellent job, especially with the display cases. Those are fantastic. Okay, I've got to do a big shout out here to the University of Findlay, because I always do that. Every show, I always talk about the University of Findlay. It's located in Findlay, Ohio. It's an NCAA Division II sports school, but it's known for academics. And your success is their priority, okay? Just go to their website, www.findlay.edu. 12-to-1 student faculty ratio. We've got 4,700 students on campus. They're from 40 states and 41 countries. Ohio's 10 most affordable colleges, according to Money Magazine. Best Midwestern college in 2025 with the Princeton Review. The best colleges in America in 2024 with Money Magazine. Check them out. You can get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or they have 5 doctoral degree programs at the University of Findlay. So you want to check them out, please. I always give them a plug before we start the show because, hey, not only did I go there, people always ask me, they said, well, how many schools did you go to? And I said, oh, about 6. And they said, 6? I said, yeah, 6 schools. because I had to take different classes for different things, different places. You know how that goes. Okay. So check out the University of Findlay. It's a good school. Before we get going with our guest, Quintin, and hopefully Valerie gets in here and joins us, we're talking about data centers and we're talking about noise. Listen to this data center noise. Here we go. And I found another one. And this guy monitors things all the time. So let's listen to him real quick.
Two people who do daily sound readings. I generally do the daytime readings, and then I'm up at night, so I do some late night readings.
Okay.
And we do a dBA and a dBc reading, which are different frequency formulations. A is for more like human audible. dBc allows more of the low frequency rumble that you can more feel. And I would just set it to the slow reading, change it to this meter has an average. And just wait 3 minutes and it gives an average, and that's what we record.
Okay.
Along with the temperature, if it's cloudy, is it raining or not, other factors just for data points.
So I'm hoping people can hear this on the video, but how do you describe the noise to people who don't live here?
If it were like a highway that never stops, we talk about, you listen to Prince William County Parkway, you hear that during the day, but at nighttime, you clearly hear it go down in volume because there's not as much traffic.
Right.
This is continued. It is just inordinately loud. Some people have claimed, well, but it's just like a conversation that never stops, is in your bedroom, and you can never turn off.
Holy cow. Yeah, you can never turn it off. Well, anyhow, we've got our guest tonight, and I want to get it off of this. There we go. We've got Quintin. Is it Koger Kid? Oh, I gotta bring you in. There you are.
Hello there, Stu. Yes, you had it right. It's Quintin Koger Kid. My wife and I lived in Minnesota for a while, and that's where we got married. And we did a Minnesota thing, and we took each other's premarital name and created a new last name.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Yeah. In Minnesota, you can pick whatever name you want when you get married.
Well, that's something else. I'll tell you what we did before last week, and I think you saw the show from last week.
I did.
We were talking about what was affecting Piqua and Sydney, Ohio. And the towns are only about 11 miles apart. And Sydney got a data center, and they were putting one in. But before they did, there was a developer that was going to put in a housing complex, and it was going to be right across from the data center. Now, his investment, I think, is up in the air on that. So here in Piqua, we're getting a data center on approximately, I believe it's 800 acres. It's either 600 or 800 acres. And they won't say who's coming in. They won't say how much power it's going to use. They won't say how much water it's going to use. But they are going to build a whole new water tower to be able to supply some of the water to the data center. And there are houses that are around there too, so they're going to experience some noise. But we had a situation here when it went in front of the city council, and it was kept very secret for a while. And then all of a sudden, they had a situation where it was time to vote. And people in town didn't get enough information. And by the city charter, you have to do a 3-rule reading to make that thing happen. Well, they skipped it and they said it was an emergency. Was there a fire? Was there an explosion or what? There wasn't. But they went ahead and voted it in because of the money that it was going to bring into the community. But they didn't take into account other things like possible raising of rates for electricity and water usage and some of the problems that it has there. So a lot of people were concerned. And just before the show, I was chatting with somebody that I know in town, and she said, well, there's going to be a meeting down in Middletown, and a bunch of people are going to be there, including a certain person. I can't remember his name right now, but do you want to go? And I'm thinking, yeah, I might do that, as long as it's not a Wednesday night, because I do a show Wednesday night, and I do a show Sunday night. So, I've got to watch my scheduling. So anyhow, there's a lot of people talking about the data centers. And a long time ago, we never used a data center. I mean, why did we need one? We had the internet, and people use their brains. Sometimes they're not doing that now, but anyhow, you have stuff like that going on. And then I saw your Facebook site and some of the postings on that Facebook site, and I said, man, I've got to get him on the show. I thought, he's putting down some information there that is really good. And I saw this, and there was another one, Terry LW, and she was talking about, or he was talking, no, probably she was talking about the city of Dublin and their mission statement and everything. And I thought, hey, now that was good too. So I posted it on my world. And I thought, let's see if I can join the group. Well, I did. I'm loving it. I'm getting more information out of you guys than what I could get here in town.
And that's part of the reason why I write about this. My background is I was an elected official out in California for 6 years, just a bedroom community north of Silicon Valley. So dealt with all of those growth related issues, large scale land use issues. We went from 7,500 people in 1990 to 32,000 in 2002. So we had explosive exponential growth, and we dealt with a lot of land use issues. Professionally, my degree is in accounting. I was an auditor, certified fraud examiner, and I also morphed over into the IT world. So I've been in data centers. I used to audit their security. I'm familiar with it, but that was a different scale of data center than what we're talking about now. They were, what could loosely be called an enterprise data center. It was for one company. And along about the early, say, 2010, you started hearing about the cloud. And that's when companies were going to the Amazons, the Microsofts, the Googles, and co-locating facilities, and their computers were there. So, and now that has exploded even more. So you're seeing these huge, we have 2 sites now in Wilmington that are being proposed for data centers. The first one we just heard about, and then the other one's like, oh, this is following the same pattern. The first one's 470 acres. The next one is right next to it. It's 570 acres. The 470 acre site is going to cover but about 100 or so acres for the data center. There's some wetlands involved right there. But there are people who are in the group whose home is 50 feet from the data center property line.
Oh, boy.
And they bought these homes last year. No one told them there was a change of plan. If you had gone and looked at the comprehensive plan, it would have told you rural residential was what was planned there. And so minimal amount of notice was given. So, what I was going to say so I come from a a governance background as well as an IT background. So I have been looking at how things take place, how they get approved. Are they holding their open meetings? You mentioned the emergency approval. It happens. And then, 50% of what the Wilmington City Council passes is done on an emergency basis. They passed an ordinance to put a moratorium on dispensaries on an emergency basis. Now, this was before there was even a law to set one up. The state hadn't put any regs out. So it wasn't an emergency. So that process gets abused. So how we found out about the data center, I had a friend of mine who I sort of monitor city council stuff and comment on that. That's what my page was dedicated towards. I actually got kicked off of another Facebook page, and my wife said, "Why don't you set up your own?"
Yeah.
I think she regrets that. But he focuses more on school board governance type issues. And he saw an item to approve something called a CRA agreement. Now, what the CRA agreement is for, the CRA stands for Community Reinvestment Area. They get some special tax breaks associated with that. And the agreement was to abate all property taxes, 100% of all property taxes for 30 years, and then make a pilot payment as a payment in lieu of taxes. And it was going to be equal to 30% of what the property taxes would have been. Now, it has a nominal 30-year period, but the calendar reset every time they built a new building. So this facility has 8 data center buildings proposed. Each one's 500,000 square feet and 2 phases. So it was looking like a construction period of over 5 years to take that on. So he found out about that, made a note about it. I had some other issues with the city, so I commented on it. And from there, it just took off. People started digging into different things. Well, how did this happen? So what ended up happening, we have a port authority here in Wilmington, and the city contracts with them for economic development. So now this became public about the middle of November. So we have folks that have gotten a lot of stuff done in a relatively short amount of time, have done a lot of research, pulled together. There's a separate group called Wilmington Residents for Responsible Development, and they focus more on the data center specific issues. They pulled a lot of stuff together, but we got to going back and looking at old city councils and planning commissions access. I did a public records request for NDAs. I had done some research last year on another topic, and I had seen invoices where they were paying an attorney to work on NDAs. So I knew they existed. They denied that. They said my request was too broad and didn't send them to me. And then I finally sent them an email, said, "Hey, if I don't have the NDAs by the close of business today, I'm going to show up in your office tomorrow to inspect them in person, just like the law allows." So we got to looking at that. Come to find out, this process had been going on. The first city official to sign an NDA was in January of 2024. And there were some other ones, about mid-year around that. So there was these negotiations going on. And then the first public action took place in around December of 2024, January 2025, in that time period. And it was to amend the noise ordinance. Now, you had a piece here earlier talking about noise ordinances, and the Wilmington noise ordinance only measures the A wave. It doesn't measure the C wave. Now, we have staff who have signed an NDA. They have the Port Authority, who had asked staff to make this amendment, they didn't tell the Planning Commission what it was for. So the Planning Commission thinks they're approving emergency generation use for a generator that someone uses to operate their medical equipment in the event of an emergency. They're not imagining anything on the scale. The site plan says 252 generators. And you're talking about 2,500 horsepower to 3,500 horsepower. I saw one of those the other day. It was on a low bed trailer with like 7 axles. It's a wide load. The thing is bigger than my 30-foot Airstream. And they have to test those all the time. So, just imagine that. Well, so the Planning Commission, who has not signed an NDA, thought they were approving someone's Gen Pack generator in a side yard so they could run their CPAPs when the power goes out.
Well,
And then, pardon?
I'll tell you what, we've got a couple of generators here in town to shave off power for the power division when they're buying power. And when they gear those jets up, they make a racket like you wouldn't believe, and they're even muffled. And you could be driving along the road and you hear this roar and you're thinking a jet aircraft is close by. Well, you're close. It was the same type of jet engine that was on a aircraft, but it's hooked to a generator.
Right.
And they make a lot of noise.
Yes, they do. Growing up, my dad worked for the Williams Company in their natural gas pipeline division, and we lived in a company house in front of a compressor station, and those had the 2,500 horsepower engines. They weren't in a building that was soundproof. It was South Mississippi. They didn't care about those sort of things back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And we had to put toothpicks in our windows to keep the windows from vibrating.
Oh, wow.
And the earth compacts because it's a constant vibration when those things are running all the time. And it settles it down, and it makes it so hard you need a pickaxe to dig in the dirt. And so I know what they sound like, what they grew up with. And you talked about the traffic noise. I'm going through some of the places in St. Paul. We live right next to I-94. The noise is constant. And it becomes such a part of your life. You don't know it, but you still feel it. And when we moved to Wilmington, after I'd been here like a year and a half, I told my wife, I said, "You hear that?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Exactly." You becomes part of the background, such a part of your life, but you constantly, your body feels that stress, even if you don't consciously feel it. So that was the first instance, the changing of the law. So the next thing that they did is they added a definition. It said data centers were a permitted use in a light industrial area. And to define data center, they literally pulled the definition out of Wikipedia. And basically the Wikipedia definition says it's computers on a rack with some support equipment. That's what the definition is. And in reality, there's different sizes of data centers. You have the enterprise level, like what I was talking about. You'll have a co-located one, which may be about 100,000 square feet. Still big, pretty good size. And then you have one size, maybe 400,000 square feet. And then you have what's coming to Wilmington. It's a hyperscale data center. It's going to have 4 million square feet.
Oh, wow.
Of buildings. Each building is going to be 500,000 square feet. And that doesn't include the support buildings. A separate water tower. So once again, the planning commission is making a recommendation. Yeah, we're going to add data center in there. So they're thinking about the ones like what I worked in 20 years ago. They're in half of on the first floor of an office building and may take up the floor. No, today's data centers aren't like that. And, they are an enterprise. And when you talk about what they serve, they don't serve, you and I. Yep, there's a lot of talk about AI in there. AI is not the largest use of data centers right now. It's Netflix, YouTube, things like that. They're planning on using AI more, and you can't avoid AI. Now, I try to send an email on my phone on Gmail, and I have AI pop up and wants to write it for me. And I'm just like, go away. I can write this myself. It's really irritating. So they add this definition to the light industrial saying data centers are allowed to give this really poorly worded definition. So now, ostensibly, companies like AWS can come in and build it by right next to a residential area. And we're talking things that are industrial scale, with industrial scale impacts, industrial scale noise levels. And once again, staff knew about it. They didn't tell the planning commissions the real reason why. Planning commission passed it. That was, like May, June last year. So the next thing that happens is this property, this 471 acres, was right outside the city limits. So, and it was in the county comprehensive plan zone, rural residential. So now what happens is the Port Authority represents the property owner to the city council and the planning commission that, hey, we want to bring this property in and change the zoning to light industrial. Now, we've already had the first two things happen.
Mm-hmm.
They've allowed generators. Now they've rezoned it light industrial. The only people who know are a handful of city staff members and the Port Authority.
And they're all under an NDA.
All under NDA. And the planning commission didn't even know. The city council didn't know. They knew something was going on. They didn't know what, but they weren't told until October 2nd of 2025. So they approved a rezoning and annexation first and then rezoning, waived the 3 readings. It wasn't done under emergency. So it has 30 days. The emergency just makes it effective immediately and does away with the referendum. And that was August 7th that they did this. And they didn't know until October 2nd. So they didn't know what they were voting on. So, when you have your representatives, you expect them to make have an informed deliberation. Our public officials, our public representatives were not given the information they needed to make an informed decision. It was concealed from them. It's not on the citizens that information was concealed for. The people we depend upon to make a decision, it was concealed from them by staff.
They were like growing mushrooms. They were kept in the dark.
Yeah, I've used that analogy. I used that word that you said I couldn't say on here.
Yeah, I know. Some people just say hooey.
Pardon?
Some people just say hooey.
Yeah. I don't usually. I told you what the rule on my Facebook page was. This is no gratuitous profanity.
Yeah, right.
And I'm probably the worst offender on there. But yeah, they didn't know, and it's hard. So we found out, my friend found this CRA that was voted on the school board. They didn't tell the city council what was going on until the next approval step was needed. And that was the city council's approval of the CRA agreement, creating a TIF district and assigning the CRA agreement, the abatement of the taxes, the pilot programs, and line out the taxes and what they were going to pay on this. They didn't find out till then, and that's just like when the whole community got into an uproar about this. And there has been a good group of people. I live 2 miles from where the data center site is. I'm going to have traffic impacts from the construction, but it's not going in 50 feet from my backyard either. So they bring us a site plan to the planning commission. Oh, when was that? That was January 6th. Now, the planning commission now knows that there is a data center plan. They still don't have the NDA information, although they have a couple of ex officio members on there, the public service director who signed the very first NDA, and the mayor, who has yet to produce his NDA, but I've heard that it exists. So, when I was involved in land use issues, we did all the investigative work up front before we got to bringing a site plan forward that was going to be discussed, before you started giving the entitled development rights. Now, fortunately, in Wilmington's Code of Ordinances, they have something called a PUD, a Plan Unit Development, and light industrial, the impacts have to stay within the site. This, for the data center that's planned, that's coming to Wilmington, the impacts are well beyond the property line. You're talking environmental impacts. There's at least 3 sub basins for drainage. One of them drains into a creek, the headwaters of a creek that flows into Cowan Lake. I've been able to get the DNR involved with looking at that. They'll be considering things like mussels. I did not know they were protected in Ohio. Apparently they are, and they're a species of concern. So that will be some. And then also was able to get people from the Little Miami Watershed Network involved. 2 of the other drainage sites, drain basins, go ultimately into Lytle Creek, which flows into Todd's Fork, which empties into the Little Miami River.
Right.
Once again, a body of water that's of national and state concern. So I've been able to get the Army Corps of Engineers involved with that. They weren't aware that this is going on. Starting looking. So these are things I'm dealing with from a governance standpoint that, hey, and they don't just apply to data centers. It just applies to good land use decisions. And they're the things that you would expect to happen for any project on that. Looking at, where's the water coming from? Is there enough capacity? The water's projected to come from Caesar Creek. I don't know if you're familiar with Caesar Creek.
Oh, yeah.
The city has a contract for 6 or 7 million gallons a day from there. It has a rated capacity of like 23 to 25 million. So there's enough water capacity there. But what you'll find interesting about this is the city of Wilmington negotiated away about half of that water supply to go up to Jeffersonville, where the battery plant is being built and where the other AWS data center is being built. And so now it becomes a question, does the pipeline have enough capacity to supply that? And these are questions they haven't answered. They were going to approve this without finding out, hey, does the water pipeline provide enough water? The chemicals that are used to treat the water. I worked for Ecolab. Ecolab supplied the chemicals that data center use. You have forever chemicals that are in those things. Can our new wastewater treatment plant treat those before we dump it into the Little Miami watershed area? These are questions that weren't being asked. And I don't know that our city council knew to ask them. When I first heard about this, I sent them a note. I said, you guys need to get a hold of some experts and bring them in and have them discuss this, because you don't have the expertise to deal with this.
Well,
I don't have the expertise to do a in-depth evaluation. I have enough expertise to know what questions to ask, but they don't even know that.
Well, we had a situation where Sydney, which is 11 miles to the north of us, they said they were going to get their water out of wells. And the wells come from the aquifer that goes into the Great Miami River. And so then you had that going on. And then you come to Piqua, and they said, well, we'll have water coming out of retention ponds and so forth, but where are you going to get your water? Water's going to come out of water towers feeding that area. And they said originally they could get the water out of the Great Miami River. Well, if Sydney's taking water out, Piqua's taking water out, Troy is 6 miles or 7 miles to the south, what are they going to do for water? Vandalia is just past them about probably another 7 miles. What are they going to do with water from the Great Miami River? And in the low season, you're looking at basically gravel in the Great Miami River at Piqua. And sometimes you get water in there, but what happens is the amount of use they're saying is going to be 34 million gallons out of the river is what it can produce. And they're only going to use 2 or 3 million gallons out of that. But what's underneath the Great Miami River is a huge aquifer that goes all the way down from Indian Lake, all the way down to basically Cincinnati. And if you take a look in that area, there's a fault line that goes down close to the Miami River. It's kind of interesting when you go back and take a look at the geology from Anna south. And Anna's a small town north of Sydney, about 15 miles. And they always say that Anna has an earthquake, usually, once a week, and nobody knows that it happened, just something shakes. So they're concerned about water usage all the way down, and the commonality between our area and Wilmington is the water issue. It's so important.
Absolutely. One of the things I asked the Corps of Engineers to look at was the groundwater issue. Wilmington has a fairly high water table. I had done some research for another reason last year on the water table. It's like 15, 20 foot deep. I saw they had done a borehole out on this project site, and a friend got a copy of the report. The water table there is 30 foot. One of the things that they do on some of these large data center sites is they do a groundwater dewatering process so they can have a stable foundation to build these very large buildings on. So you're removing groundwater, even if they're not used for a well. It's ag land. You have nitrates in those. It's been farmed so long, you have that. You probably don't want to drink it anyway. But what that groundwater does is during the dry season, that's what feeds the creeks. So that's going on. One of the things that I asked this question to myself last year, and I did a post about it, was why Wilmington? Why Piqua? Why Mount Orab? Why Trenton?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what it is? It's because you have water, land, electricity, and government, who is small town, not the most sophisticated place, and they're easily taken advantage of.
You got it right there, Quintin.
And what I came to realize, this is really an wealth extraction process. They're taking all of those assets from our community, promising to bring us a very minimal amount of jobs. You're talking, for that one data center in our site, a $4 billion investment. $4 billion. If you run that through an infrastructure model, one of the federal models, you're talking $4 billion investment should generate between 10 and 40,000 jobs. They're telling us they're going to bring us 100.
They told us 50.
All right. So you're looking at that disparity of that. So where is that going? And we talked earlier about what are data used for? They're used to run companies' businesses. They're used to run the business for Walmart, for Chevron, for Exxon, for Amazon, all of their businesses. So there are jobs that are generated off of this. There are tens of thousands of jobs that are generated off of a hyperscale data center. They're just not going to be in Wilmington. They're going to be in San Francisco, San Jose, Seattle, Houston, Texas, Chicago. They're not going to be in this community. And the research I'm doing around this, what is the rate of return on these data centers? You're talking about these things pay off and it's hard to get a handle on this. The numbers are so confidential, between 5 and 10 years. So if you're talking a $4 billion data center to pay off in 5 years, you're talking about $1.2 billion of revenue a year. And by the time you do your sales tax abatement, the reduction of the property tax by 65%, exclude property from the tax thing, 80% of that $4 billion has been removed from the property tax roll before you start counting. Exactly. And then you're doing 30% of that. So now you're talking in the low millions of dollars when you're giving everyone else $1.2 billion of revenue. And it's extracting what we have here, not giving us our jobs, any jobs, and sending the money elsewhere.
Hey, Quintin, I'll tell you what, we're just about out of time. Would you be willing to come back next week?
Sure. I could do that.
Same time next week, and we'll just take this a little bit longer. And I think Valerie was going to be here, but she had a meeting for veterans.
Okay.
And so I think she's still stuck at that meeting. So if we can do this next week, right here on the Trim Radio Network, and we'll just expand it a little bit more and tell all your friends in Wilmington to watch us.
I was sending out notes on it. One of the things I'd like to talk about, I've come up with a new term to describe this. I call it the digital colonialization of the flyover states.
You got it. Well, hey, we have to go because it's time. If not, the boss will get me. And I don't need to get, he doesn't yell. He just gives you that look, So anyhow, it's been a great talking to you.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
We'll meet up next week. How's that? Same time, same place. Okay. Hey, thanks
a
lot. Hey guys.
Talk to you later, Stu.
Thank you. With that, guys, we've got to call it quits. Have a good week. Watch me on Money and Change Sundays at 7 p.m. And then again next Wednesday, right here on My World. And we'll continue with part 3 of data centers. And with that, Quintin and I say, have a good week. See ya.
Y'all take care.
In a world drowning in noise, where truth is often buried beneath layers of propaganda and misinformation, there's a need for a different kind of a network. a network of creators that cuts through the clutter, that doesn't shy away from tough topics, and that delivers the unfiltered truth. We are Trim Radio Network. We are creators, we are innovators, we are investigators. We're the ones who aren't afraid to call a spade a spade. If you're ready to participate in thought-provoking discussions, informational topics, and of course today's biggest headlines, subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We're Trim Radio Network. We're cutting the bull and serving the truth.